and welcome back. I'm Mary Jo, also known as Sew and I am going to be sewing all of my July Cotton Cuts Gnomes blocks together into a finished quilt top. So I'm going to get started by cutting some sashing strips. So I'm going to cut 6 2.5-inch strips. And these are all for my sashing strips, and I'm going to use these cornerstones. Oops, hold on. I'm going to use these cornerstones. These were the leftover squares while making the blocks. So that's what I'm using there. And these are my strips for my sashing. I think it's about time to change that blade. Now, last month I accidentally cut too many 5-inch strips, so I don't need to cut any. But if I were, I would cut 2 5-inch strips for the border on the top and the bottom. And then for the side borders, I'm going to cut 4 6.5-inch strips. And this is my own finishing. I just buy the blocks from Cotton Cuts and then I put it together my way. So I'm going to cut 4 6.5-inch strips. More 6.5-inch strips here. And I always start by cleaning up the edge. All right, 6.5, 13. All right, so that's all of my strips I need to cut. So now I'm going to take all of my 6-inch strip, or my 2.5-inch strips, which I have 6 of them. I'm going to line them up all on top of each other, and then I'm going to cut them at 12.5 and 22.5, which will get me 6 2.5 by 12.5-inch blocks and 6 2.5 by 22.5 blocks. That's number 4. Number 5. And number 6. Okay. Just going to put my stripology ruler down again. And 12.5. Those are cut. Now I need to do 22.5. Now the stripology ruler does not go that high, but that's okay. I'm just gonna line this cut edge up on 10. So 22.5 would be 32.5. So I'm just gonna line this up on my mat. And I'm just using my mat lines for this. So it's 32.5. And I'm just going to take a cut. And there's my 6 for that. So now I can just start pinning it all together. So I'm going to move my stripology ruler. I don't need that anymore. And I'm going to get started with this, my sashing and my cornerstone. So I will have a cornerstone, a sashing, cornerstone, sashing, and a cornerstone. And then for the next row, I will have a 22.5 inch, a gnome block, a 22.5 inch strip, a gnome block, and then a 22.5 inch strip. And then another sashing and cornerstone row, another block row, and then a sashing and cornerstone row. So I'm going to go ahead and start pinning all of this together. Okay, so I have everything pinned, and I'm over here at my sewing machine where I'm going to start sewing this together. Now I sew one column at a time, and I leave the threads there. I do not break my threads. And then I will go over to the next column. So I have all that sewn together and that web piecing with those columns down. So now I'm just going to do some pressing. And I'm going to press everything towards the sashing. And then I'm going to pin it together again. Okay, so I have the center of that quilt all pieced together. I still have to sew it, but after I sew it and press it, I can start adding borders. So I try to get as much done, pinned together when I take it over to the sewing machine, so I can do as much sewing all at once as I can. So I'm going to go ahead and start preparing my side borders. So I got 2 side borders. These are my 4 6.5 inch strips that are all stacked up. So I'm just going to come over here and cut this selvage edge off real quick. Alright, cut that off. And then I'm going to pin 2 strips together to make one side border and 2 more strips to make the other side border. And then when I go to the sewing machine, I can sew those side borders and my quilt top all at once. So the center of my quilt top is all sewn together. I'm just gonna do some pressing and then we'll start adding the borders. Okay, so I have that center all cut or all pinned together, and now I'm going to cut my borders. My quilt right now is 50.5 inches long, so I've laid that seam of these 2 pieces right here, so it's doubled over. So I'm going to cut these at 25.25 since it's folded in half. So I'm just going to cut 2 strips. Alright, so that's the first one. And then I'm going to cut this other one. And then I'll pin it onto the side. So I have those borders pinned on. I'm just going to sew those borders down real quick and then we'll go press them and add the top and the bottom border. Okay, so I just have to add my top and bottom borders. Now my top and bottom borders are 42.5 inches. So I've already cut that. I'm just going to pin it, sew it, press it, and then we'll be back for that last look. And there it is, all done. All right, till next time. Bye.